What's up, y'all? It's LYSH, and I am back with another episode of Musings and Mugs.
Calling Jimmy John's got them shooters don't deliver.
So, I've had some time since our last episode to kind of figure out what's going on here. Like, what is the purpose of Musings and Mugs, and how can it contribute to the Shootas brand, and how it would continue to honor who I am while also being true to who the Shootas are. And I don't know if y'all have kind of peeped it already, but me and Shooter are almost like complete opposites. We do have similar interests, things that we both love, but we are almost the epitome of like a yin and a yang. Like, I'm taller, she's shorter. She has low porosity hair, I have high porosity hair. She has a higher pitched sing song voice. My voice is lower and kind of mellow. There have been like seasons where we realize that we are truly like the balance and effect to the other person as a best friend duo. And balance is like the theme of the channel. Balance is the theme of our relationship. Standing on my own on this part of the channel has caused me to have to honestly just go to the Lord to figure out what I'm doing and how Musings and Mugs will support what we're doing and what He wants to do through us. And so, with that being said, I think that what is true of me is that I love having conversations. And a lot of times over coffee, you can find me in deep thought and in deep reflection, and maybe sharing those thoughts with someone that I care about, someone that I love. And so I want M&Ms to be a space where you can return, where if you become a fan of the Shootas today, tomorrow, or 5 years from now, you can come to M&Ms and you can find something to sip on that's still hot. And I think that my goal in every space that I show up is to enlighten, to educate, to induce empathy, and just to make people to think, challenge people to think, and challenge people to love better. And so that's what I want to do here on M&Ms, and that is how this channel will kind of develop. And right now there are things that I want to talk about that have been hot topics for the world, the Love Island watchers anyway. And even if you're not a Love Island watcher, I would hope this conversation brings other things to light, because what should have been a fun reality TV escape for some of us, watching people find love, has turned into something that is extremely triggering for Black women, for survivors of narcissistic abuse, and all the things. And so, yeah, I want to get into that today. So let this be the true beginning of M&Ms. I got my shooter with me tonight. Hey, Shoo. And yeah, we're not even going to lollygag, dillyfoot. I don't know where I got it from. We're just going to jump right off into it. Okay? We've been going through some things concerning the aftermath of Love Island. And I know some of y'all probably thinking, like, is the show really that deep? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that deep. However, we are crossing over into a much larger conversation that is beyond Love Island. And y'all know the Shootas, we've talked about this on the podcast before, just the ups and downs of the season 7 of Love Island. And both of us at separate times took intentional breaks because of just the heaviness that we were experiencing watching a dating show that was taking place on an island. So let's get into Shoo, how the show had gotten heavy for you and how it transitioned from the lighthearted nature of a dating show and the tensions around who couples up with who, and has gone on into a deeper conversation.
Well,
yeah.
First of all, I think it's been deep. That's why I love Serena them so much. It's like, I guess season 6 was more of an escape, whereas this one was a hot mess. When did it get to the point where I needed a break? I definitely needed a break after the heart rate challenge. That's when I was like, I was already slowly becoming over it, but after the heart rate challenge, that's when I was like, oh, I'm not going to be watching this every day.
So was it just the event that took place during the heart rate challenge, the events that took place during the heart rate challenge, or was there just like things going on that were not necessarily that I guess you would have had to infer. Like, was it the actual actions of the islanders, or was it something else happening underlying that had you turn it off?
Honestly, what made me turn it off was the aftermath of the heart rate challenge and America's perception of the thing. I did not want to watch anymore once I realized America was on Huda's side after she did her big one with Ace. Once I realized America was intent on making Chelley a bully, I didn't want to watch it anymore because I mean, once America gets something in their head, that's how the votes are gonna go. And I don't want to see that. It was really America that turned me off to watching it.
Facts. And I would say it was America for me from the beginning. Well, pause. It wasn't America from the beginning. I feel like I got hit with a double whammy when it came to this show. In the beginning, I was already on one and triggered. Like, at first, I wasn't watching it. And you know, I was like getting my updates through you. And after a while, my ears start twitching like, that sounds familiar. How this Huda person was treating another one of the islanders. I'm hearing things, and I'm like, bro, I know this kind of behavior. So I ended up watching it, and I got caught up with Shoo shortly before the Huda crash outs. So somewhere within episode 7, 8, 9, right in there. And at the point that Huda did the crash outs after Jeremiah and Iris got coupled up. So she got saved by the islanders that first time. But when the tide started to turn and people started letting her stay, like the goal of America was no longer to get her off the show. I was hurt, really. And that's the honest word behind it, because, and this going into the same kind of thing that she was just talking about, but it was doubly invalidating that America went from realizing that this woman was unhealthy and had a problem and was negatively affecting the islanders and putting herself at risk. At some point, she was able to change the narrative from being the bully, the raging cast member, the illogical cast member, the aggressive cast member. She was able to change the narrative from that to being the victim that people chose to rally behind. And to me, that's successful manipulation. And it was invalidated in that she was able to convince the majority of Love Island watchers that she was not the problem. I am a victim and survivor of narcissistic abuse. I've said this before. I have not given Huda a diagnosis, but I have done multiple videos at this point for assessing her behaviors next to the reality of narcissism. It was very clear that Huda had a problem, and that Huda was the person who was making people severely uncomfortable in the villa. And despite her manipulation and her lying, people rallied behind her. That's triggering. And it's triggering for me. It's triggering for me because I'm thinking about other people who have experienced the same kind of things. And it's like the minute that people chose to rally around Huda to say she did no wrong, to not hold her accountable, they also invalidated the experience of every other person who ever known a narcissist. And that literally hurt. I have a sensitivity to that. I guess I just feel very close to abused people, and I carry their weight because of my own story. So it was like a slap in the face that people would rally around a person who was hurting the other people and just act like it was okay. So then we get Chelley in the picture, who is painted out to be a bully for feeling some type of way about being disrespected. But it don't stop there. It doesn't get better, because even though Chelley decides that she wants to be mature about how to have a conversation with somebody who has pissed her off, because in reality, she did way better than me. She did way better than I would have done. But she goes about it in a mature fashion and asks to have a conversation at a later date, for the sake of maturity, one, and just handling things with wisdom. And she is crucified for it. BuzzFeed wants to give her a knuckle sandwich. Time magazine called her what? A toxic communicator? So it's doubly invalidating, because now we got to look at another layer to this. It's not just that Huda is a narcissistic individual who has successfully manipulated a big number of people. Now we got to look at the factors that would make it so that there are two publications that decided to misspeak. And one of them, honestly, that's aggressive. Like, to offer her a knuckle sandwich is to say you're gonna put hands on her. Like, and you felt justified in doing that. There's another party here who is a victim at this point. It's black women. She's not validated. She's not supported. BuzzFeed Time and whoever else running with her being a bully, and there's no evidence for that. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, I think at that point it doesn't get much more complicated than racism. We're looking at racism.
Right here on the platter, 2025, yet again, that's blatant racism. And underneath that is just so much pain. It's pain for me. In a narcissistic relationship, or when you are being abused by a narcissist, it's like that ongoing feeling of being criticized, being unseen, being unsupported, being invalidated, being made to feel like you're crazy. And I feel like I can say them same things about how Chelley was treated. Now I put Alondra in that too, because she has some supporters, but she also had some hate coming out of the villa as well. It literally just made me think about, in my history classes, just talking about the hierarchy of like people who had value, people who had worth. And it started with the white man, and then the white woman, then the black man, and the bottom of that barrel is the black woman, the least protected, the least supported, the one without anybody fighting for her. Like, in terms of who gets the most respect, I guess you could say it starts with the white man, it ends with the black woman, and at some point it goes from most respected to not respected at all, respected the least. You know what I mean?
The unspoken class system.
Right. Chelley didn't get to feel. Chelley didn't get to even handle herself maturely. The narrative was still told that she had done something wrong, and people are still running with it.
I agree. Ditto. To the point about Olandria, she does have support outside the villa, but her support is tied to a white man. I mean, no shade, because I love Nick, but Olandria doesn't have supporters. Nick Olandria has supporters. And without the Nick part of the Nick Olandria would be in the same boat, because people were over her when she had her little messy moment and called out Huda for kissing Chris and not saying anything about it. People didn't like that from Olandria. So without the white man, she would be getting a knuckle sandwich as well. Her support is directly tied to Nick.
Nah, and that's actually crazy. I think I mentioned it multiple times now, but how it's plenty of instances in history where white people have to get a conscience and make a decision to do the right thing in order for racism to be checked. And it's like a humble reminder, like Just Mercy is a movie that depicts that. It's based on a true story, but it's a movie that depicts that and it does it dramatically. Go watch it. Another thing that I think about often with that is Juneteenth. Slavery's over. And you got some disgruntled and proud white folks in Galveston, Texas, who don't want to let the people go. And I know a narrative is being told that they didn't know they were free. Y'all do not let nobody put that ignorance on somebody's ancestors, on skin folk that have gone on to be with the Lord. Them people knew that they was free. The way I'm envisioning it, they literally were being threatened, like in all the ways that they had been throughout slavery times. If you think you leaving, I don't care what nobody say. You're not going anywhere. And it took somebody riding in and telling them folks, "Hey man, come on. This is against the law now. You have to let them go." It's a pathetic way to experience justice, I think, because we shouldn't have that many people committed to wrong and that many people committed to oppressing other folks. Point is, there are many instances in our history where, as much as we have fought, there have had to be white people getting involved, people in power, in a sense, getting involved to say, hey, stop that, for it to be over. And I keep playing it out of my mind, and I kind of want to touch on the reunion right here. We was talking about this earlier, how the reunion probably about to be a disappointment. But the person that I'm seeing as the person with the most power in this predicament concerning all of the lies that's been told about Chelley and Alandria and the relationships that they had in the villa. The person who y'all have given, who America has given the power to decide what is right, what should stop, when it should stop, y'all gave it to the liar and the manipulator. Y'all gave it to Huda. And Huda got herself out of that villa, learned that she had people rallying behind her, and she signed up. Yes. Yes. Oh my God. These people see me. These people get me. I was being bullied in the villa. I was like, girl, never mind that I coerced anybody into sex. Never mind that I was running around screaming and calling men out of their names. Never mind that I called a woman, like what, two? It was Iris and Amaya that she was attacking whenever they came into the villa because she thought they wanted Jeremiah. Never mind all of that. I'm the victim, and y'all told me so. She didn't take 1 ounce of that power to tell the truth, to take accountability for nothing, but or even to just stop cyberbullying, to make a statement about it. She didn't do it, and I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about that in light of how Chelley and Alandria are still getting threats in their comments, and Huda's just like la la la, la 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 la. The one with the power doesn't even care to stop the violence. Doesn't even care to, and that's triggering.
I don't have high hopes for the reunion just because reality TV often disappoints the same person. Just in general, reality TV tends to focus on the drama, and then a show like this tends to focus on the majority. And I think that this show is a very unfortunate reminder that we black people are the minority, because my algorithm shows me lots of Shelley support. My algorithm shows me lots of Ace support, but that is not the opinion of the public, quite clearly. And because it is not the opinion of the mass majority, the production team shifted to make someone else their hero and make someone else the villain. So I don't really have high hopes when it comes to that, because production is going to produce. But the fact that they have Andy Cohen hosting makes me feel like maybe we could get to the bottom of some things. And that's just what I'm hoping for. He is not new to reality television. He is not new to reality television hosting. He is not new to black women reality television hosting. I feel like he's a really good reality television reunion host. And so I feel like Peacock asked him to do it because last year's reunion was not very organized. And so I think they figure Ariana Madix needs a little help just in the organization of it anyway. And so I think we can expect to get more questions answered in general. Now, what those questions are, I hope Andy don't fold. I hope Andy didn't sign no kind of contract that limits what he can say. I honestly feel like I feel like he's just too goated. Like he's too, not even goated, but he's too much of a veteran in the game to let Peacock tell him what to do. But I mean, again, I don't have high hopes. I don't know, cause Peacock is gonna Peacock. I just say go into it knowing what you know about who you know it about. Literally, don't let the algorithm control you. Literally, don't let what is said deter you from what you know is right, because, yeah, it's likely to be disappointing. Also, you can't underestimate the ability of people who have similar, because I'm not an expert on narcissism, but I do know people. I have experienced people who have traits similar to Huda. And you cannot underestimate people who show those types of qualities, their ability to just change stuff. Like they can make it something that you just didn't even know. Like we think we talking about apples, but by the end of the conversation, you are now convinced that this was a whole documentary on oranges. So honestly, you can't underestimate that, because it gets crazy. And honey, Andy might leave feeling like he don't know what he's talking about. Like it just could go either way. But what I think that Andy Cohen watched every episode of the season. I think that he is looking at everybody's social media. I think that he's going to come into the situation knowledgeable. And so I guess we just hope for the best, but prepare for boo boo.
You made a very great point because we saw that manipulation happen in the villa. Like, I genuinely feel like a part of the reason why people missed that Huda was vulnerable, made vulnerable by America that first night that she got put on the chopping block, because of all the work that Huda was like. She was so over the top. She was weeping. She was cursing. She was in everybody's ear about what Jeremiah is and what Jeremiah ain't and how Jeremiah got her messed up and if boy this and if him that. And it never stopped. I think that the people in the villa were successfully manipulated by Huda. They didn't even get a chance to think, dang, America could have put Huda in a couple. But they didn't. Huda was vulnerable, not Jeremiah. It never crossed their mind. So I'm not my chest. I'm only gonna watch it for the sake of the viewers and like people who are coming to the Shooters page. We had a comment today where somebody was saying that she got put onto us a little while ago, but she come when she need to hear common sense. I'm gonna watch it for those who need the common sense. But I could literally do without it. Because if it end up being that they get on that show and Huda sucks everybody into her orbit like she successfully did while she was in that villa, I'm not going to be able to breathe. Literally. And I think I'm already disappointed because while Chelley never raised her voice in the villa, she's still being attacked like she did something to somebody. Alandria never did nothing to Huda. I mean, I honestly don't feel any ways about any of her movements like within the villa toward Huda. Even down to the messy comment, somebody put it in perspective of Huda wanted the information to be told, but she didn't expect that Alandria would put it out in front of everybody and make her look as sneaky as she actually was.
I never, not one day, had a problem with Alandria saying that at that stand-up business challenge. Maybe it was messy. I ain't never had no problem with her doing it, and I said it that day because she said it in front of everybody. She said what she wanted to say. I ain't never got no problem with nobody quite literally standing on business. She wanted to say that. She wanted, and the other thing is, we got however many minutes of the 6 hours we got. And so she felt the need to say that based on what the person standing up was saying. We don't know everything that Huda was saying up there, but whatever she was saying made Alandria say, well, hold on now. If we standing on business, then say this. I would have had a problem with it if she told Chelley by herself and been like, but don't tell her I told you. I had no problem with it because she said it in front of every single solitary person. I realized that Chris was upset, and he can be. And he don't have to be friends with Alandria.
Context is everything. Perception is everything. There are a lot of factors at play that I think we have to consider when we are dealing with reality TV. And that particular challenge made us really like grieve over how perception played a part in really changing y'all, like making people flip to go full blown loyalty for people who honestly, I was about to say people who don't deserve it, but at the same time, be loyal if that's what you want to be, but do you have to be an enabler? And I think we've kind of already hit on this a little bit on All Things Lit because people, Huda supporters, Drake supporters, Trump supporters, they all on the same type of time. It don't matter what that person does. I think that I gotta sign off on it. I gotta stand beside them. That's how people move who run in them camps. And to me, that's idolatry. People rally behind folks and act like they are God. And that's how I see it because y'all, it's so many people who don't expect the person that they support to be worthy of their support. It's like they can do whatever. How people idolize and rally around the people that they choose to support in the industry continue to contribute to the lie and leave black women unprotected?
I think that stan culture is destructive in general just because, stan culture equals idolatry. When you can't be too much of a fan of anybody. You're too much of a fan to where you can't put it down because the person did something that you don't stand for. That is idolatry, and we call it being a stan nowadays. Being a stan or idolizing anybody is always going to leave someone unprotected when the person that you idolize is at odds with the person. I will use AI to organize my thoughts. Like, I type out an entire outline, or I type out my outlines for videos look more like blog posts or a diary entry. I type every single thing I want to say in an episode. I put it into AI to organize it, as in to group it by topic, so that I'm not going from topic to topic. But I don't use AI to formulate my thoughts, right? The people who use AI to think for them, they're getting dumber and dumber by the minute. People who use these celebrities to think for them are getting dumber and dumber by the minute. You cannot rely on the celebrity for the sake of their celebrity. You have to listen to what come out of people's mouth. Because the second something come out of your mouth that I just truly don't align with, I have to be done with you. And that is because I consider myself an intelligent person. I consider myself a wise person. And the second I put all my trust into you, I am officially lacking wisdom. I'm leaning on yours. And the people y'all be leaning on don't be having too much of it. Point blank, period. Lean on Jesus. Because he gonna tell you who to be a fan of. He gonna tell you who you need to stop following. But I don't know if I'm on the question or off the question, but stan culture in general leaves someone unprotected. In this case, being a stan or idolizing Huda leaves anybody who Huda ever had some type of issue with unprotected. And it turns you not only into an unintelligent person or a person who is moving without intelligence, but it turns you into a bully. And more so, talking about the unintelligent part of it, everybody who is Huda stands are completely ignoring how Huda moved with these bullies in the villa. Huda did not hate these people in the villa. Huda wanted to be these people's friends in the villa. Huda cried when both of these people got voted out of the villa. She was sad when Chelley finally left. She was sad when Alandria fake left. And so, but her stands don't care because they just,
Sad is an understatement. She was
yeah,
distraught,
she was
devastated.
distraught.
It was all fake, but she was in there like heavy, heavy, like chest crying. It was a lot.
Mm, yeah, she was really sad. And that in itself should be enough to make her fans think twice about what they say about the people that she had differences with. But honestly, it's the American way to make somebody a villain. America thrives off of having an enemy. America thrives off of having a villain. And it's always great when the villain has darker skin. So it's literally the American way. Idolatry is the American way. And it's unfortunate, but it is also something to know so that you can do something different, because I personally don't stand by none of that. I don't feel like I'm doing well in life when I have enemies. But the vast majority of America does. And so you can't be a Huda fan without having someone to hate. You can't be a Huda fan without attacking another entity. You cannot be a Nicki Minaj fan without having someone to hate. Someone has started a list of all the female entertainers that Nicki Minaj has bullied, and the list goes crazy. You cannot be a Drake fan without hating Kendrick, but you can be a Kendrick fan without hating Drake, because to be a Kendrick fan is to be a fan of hip hop. To be a Drake fan is to be a fan of Drake. And yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, but stan culture equals idolatry. I hate it.
No, you definitely did, especially hinting on the fact that idolatry is the American way. I would say narcissism is the American way too, because America is really not a country founded on truth. It's manipulation and lies that kind of fills our history textbooks and like is American history, honestly. I've had that conversation with some of my white friends and they like, dang, yeah, you're right. And that's not to say that every white person should be a villain, clearly. but it is to say that there was a success that America experienced by retelling the story, changing the language around what they did that was inhumane to become one of them top countries in the world. The part of the question that was specific to black women was to say, how does stand culture affect us or leave us unprotected, in particular, as people at the bottom of that chain?
The system in general leaves black women unprotected. And so I think before you even get to the stands, before you even get to who idolizes who on these different platforms, just the system is made to keep black women and black men, but black women down. I just recorded an episode of Lyrical Math about the song For Free, and as I was recording it, had the revelation that when he's saying this ain't free, he is saying it's not free as in I want to be paid for my output, for my art and all of that, but also it's not free as in black people have always been shackled to the parameters in which white America has set for us. We have always only been so free. We've never fully been free. That's why I love the Juneteenth shirts that say free-ish, because that's literally what it is. We can be just as successful as they deem sufficient. P. Diddy had a lot going on. P. Diddy should be in prison. But P. Diddy did not go to prison until P. Diddy started trying to put his nose and his money in the big boys' arenas when it came to the alcohol, the liquor industry. That's when he got locked up, and it's not by accident. You can be successful and you can have your chains and you can have your whips. J. Cole said, laughing like, yeah, man, get your money. That's literally how they be looking at us, like, go on, get your money, honey. But you can only do as much as they allow you to do. When you step outside of that, that is when they shut you down immediately. And we just saw it on Love Island. Chelley can be the pretty, exotic looking, dark skinned girl. She's so sweet. She makes everybody happy. But the second you start doing too much, speaking up for yourself a little bit too much, especially against palm colored people, that's when we have to shut you down. And they essentially shut her down. Now, Chelley is very confident in herself, and that's the best way to be as a black woman in America, because, I mean, you got to live every day. So you either going to live happy and not caring about all of that, or you going to live depressed because all of that just weighs so heavily on you. But Chelley was essentially shut down on the show because she went too far. And so, stan culture does leave black women unprotected, but before stan culture, it's the system. It's America. That's just, it's literally the way this country is structured, and it's not by accident. And honestly, like, so many people who are fans of Huda would probably honestly say, I am not a racist. I have black friends. Like, they probably honestly and truly feel that way, because a lot of those people, a lot of palm colored people don't even realize it. Like, they don't even know. It's just ingrained in the membrane. They are just racist. And not racist as in, I mean, being racist is bad, but not even like trying to be racist, like consciously racist, like, oh, a black person, I hate them, but just racist, superior. Just white supremacy is ingrained in them, and they don't know how to move a different way. And so naturally, when a black person steps out of line, they have a natural aversion to that, and we get what we just saw. And so, yeah, before stan culture, it's the system. It's just the country we live in.
And to your last point, racism being ingrained in people without them intentionally trying to be a racist, or like raised to say hateful things and to treat people in hateful ways, and to see and taught to, like, belittle and mistreat people. I think that's a measure of the system's success. Because, I mean, we talk about it all the time, how there is no experience like what slavery was in America. There is nothing to mirror that after. And their intent was to break Black people in such a way that they would never be able to stand on their own. And I think you see the system working when people like Huda, who is not white, but was threatened by them Black women, or by Chelley in particular, being desired in a way that was more than her. Like, it wasn't, I said this in the video before too, like, I do believe that Huda shows narcissistic qualities. I don't think, again, that these things are calculated. I think that they rationalize however they rationalize, and then they act. And then we see what narcissistic behaviors look like. But back to the point of rationalizing how they rationalize, a part of that, I truly believe there is no way this Black woman getting more play than me. There is no way everybody in the villa wants her more than me. Whoop, whoop. I think that internalized superiority or entitlement, even when people are not trying to be that, is literally just a result of the system having done what it was meant to do. Keep these people at the bottom. We're at the bottom of that system, about the bottom of that chain, based on the fact that somebody had to be in power. And so a long time ago, a blueprint was created so that people like Huda could come out on top. As long as we in the picture, we supposed to be on the bottom. I didn't know how I wanted to wrap this up tonight. It's been a lot lately, y'all, just processing all of this. Shoo had said something to me the other night. I can't even remember what you said now. I just remember how I felt when I heard it. And I was just thinking about how so many people in the world are turning their eye to these Black women being attacked for no reason. I think that that's really the gag. They didn't do nothing. They didn't do anything. And it literally just made me feel, and I know it's not in the same manner of like gruesomeness that our ancestors experienced, but I felt like the world has turned its back and turned its face because who would care about the Black person? Oh yeah, it's okay if a Black man is hanging from a tree. They're just a Black man. It's okay. I mean, that's normal. It's okay if you see a public lashing. It's just Black people. It's fine. That's painful. And the same way we talked about idolatry or stand culture, I think that it needs to be said, like, we can't even trust news outlets to give us the full story. And they should be held accountable too. When time got involved, they could have got involved to tell the truth. But they didn't. And that just added more fuel to the fire. And it just made me feel grief. People really don't care. And I knew they didn't, because that same people who voted Trump in the office, people didn't care then. But it hurt. That is another episode of M&Ms. I wish I had a call to action that would like resolve what we're experiencing, but we've been fighting this fight for a long time. But I can say Shoo is on the right track with where to begin. When she talks on the control room, she talks about taking control of your algorithm, bring truth back into your timeline. I would challenge you to be a person who carries the truth, who is not a fool. When you hear reason and you hear logic, I encourage you to open your mind to that. And when you speak, speak the truth. Glad to have y'all here tonight, and always rooting for everybody Black. That's it for this episode. We'll see y'all next time.
Calling Jimmy John's got them shooters on deliver.